Hey guys, hello and welcome back to another Star Wars video. It is I coming at you once again, your favourite galactic hostess, Star Wars Meg. And today we have some huge Mandoverse updates. We're talking about the Mandalorian and Grogu, but also the future of Ahsoka. But with Dave Filoni now as co-president who still hasn't finished her journey yet, as you're gonna see, it's so unnecessary and so avoidable. But first, I think it's safe to say it's been a couple of days of doom and gloom, with the Superbowl Mandalorian and Grogu teaser situation, with the fan response and everything. It's just been an exhausting start to the week, and today, Disney put out a statement defending the trailer saying this: Grogu is more than a character, he's a pop culture phenomenon. Riding alongside Mando, he brings lightness, humor, joy, and an instant emotional connection that transcends the moment. Now, while at face value the wording seems positive, if you really look at what they said, there's a major difference between how Disney and Lucasfilm treated Grogu just a few years ago, and how they're treating him after Season 3 and in 2026. Disney is really not beating the milking Grogu for all he's worth allegations. And look, I need to preface this by saying I'm still a huge Mando fan. I love the show. I adored Season 1, was over the moon with Season 2. I have issues with the third season, but it wasn't horrible. But I am still a fan and I'm looking forward to the movie. But I can't pretend things haven't changed. I can't pretend Lucasfilm has maintained the same standard of quality for all 3 seasons. If we're honest, there was a decline in the writing, even in the directing, and some overall very important creative choices. And I don't know if Disney and Lucasfilm actually know how the fans felt about it, but they've seen an opportunity to milk him further with this movie coming out, and that's why you get statements like this. The Disney guy should have just come out with a photo of Grogu and gone, ka-ching! It would have had the same effect. Because here's the thing, Grogu has always been cute. He's always had memeable moments, scenes that we go, oh look how adorable, he's eating a macaron, or he's cooing or petting an animal or something like that. But in the first 2 seasons, when the show was at its height, there was more substance to him. He was still treated like a character. There was intrigue, there was mystery, we were learning about his name and his backstory. He was once a Padawan who survived Order 66, and he was so much more than just a cute MacGuffin. So then fast forward to post-Book of Boba Fett, and it really felt as though Lucasfilm, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni ran out of ideas. I know he's training as a Mandalorian apprentice, and you might say he's on his way to becoming something great, but it just feels like Lucasfilm doesn't know what to do with him. Just a few years ago, Grogu conversations centered around actual plot points. These days, it's just about how cute he looks. Don't get me wrong, he's still extremely popular. With kids, with adults, at Disneyland, with merch sales and Funkos and everything else, Grogu is a literal cash cow. But sometimes they've forgotten he's still a character, and this is exemplified in the new statement from Disney. And like I say, there's a big difference between Grogu in the first 2 seasons, because back then, especially before Season 1, Lucasfilm had no idea how big Grogu was really gonna be. They kept him a secret, they kept him away from the marketing, he wasn't in any of the trailers for the first season, and so when he was revealed, the fandom went crazy. But it was a balance between being interested in who this character is and the fact he was adorable. But I have to be honest, these days the Grogu phenomenon, despite being big, feels rather hollow. And I hope I'm wrong about this. I'm hoping in the movie they do something meaningful and significant. But moving on, my friends, to something far more positive, we have a new leak thanks to our good friend Morai Messenger. We have a brand new look, a live-action Dathomir in Ahsoka Season 2. These are painted backgrounds with green screen curtains, and it should just be noted this is an image from the set, not a finished frame with full VFX. And a huge reveal I want to give you in addition to this comes from the art of the Acolyte. Ahsoka Season 2 was not originally intended to be the first place we see a live-action Dathomir. I know it already appeared in Season 1, but in terms of a proper look, not just one shot from space, but actually getting inside the world in live action, that was supposed to happen in The Acolyte. In fact, before Leslie Headland changed them to the Brendok Witches, Anasaya's coven was from Dathomir, and I can exclusively reveal full concepts for what would have been, what Dathomir would have looked like. Very similar to its appearance in the Clone Wars, in Tales of the Empire, and Rebels. And look, I know it's not the most popular thing to suggest, but for all we know, Dave is going to recycle some of those set ideas for Ahsoka. And one of the reasons I'm saying this is because based on what it says in the Art of the Acolyte, Dave is rather possessive over Dathomir. Because he's credited as the person who brought the planet into canon and did so much with it in the animated shows, he wants creative control of how it's handled in every project. In the book they say Leslie is the one who asked to do Dathomir, and Dave dissuaded her, reminding her that not all Star Wars witches are from the same place, and apparently he encouraged her to make a new coven. I assumed it was the other way round, so when I said I think it was Dave's idea to do Dathomir, and then Leslie scrapped it, I was wrong. Dave is the one who seemingly said no, but we know Dathomir returns in Ahsoka. Don't worry, this is long after the Acolyte. There probably won't be any connections, but I'm talking in terms of set concepts. And so now guys, on to our final Ahsoka update. This one is rather strange. Now I have to admit, with Ahsoka Season 2 still underway, with the character still alive and presumably lots of stories to come, this seems like a very strange, deliberate decision. So what am I talking about? Star Wars once again drops a massive clue that Ahsoka is dead by the time of Episode 9. I've touched upon this topic a couple of times in the past, but in case you're not up to date, as we know from The Rise of Skywalker, right before her final showdown against the revived Emperor Palpatine, Rey calls upon the Jedi voices of the past. We hear Qui-Gon, Aayla Secura, Luminara, Adigalia, Obi-Wan, Yoda, Anakin, fricking Mace Windu, Kanan Jarrus, but one voice that raised a few eyebrows at the time was Ahsoka Tano. And fans assumed, well, it must mean that by that point, Ahsoka is dead. And in the years since, of course, Ahsoka's returned earlier in the timeline in the Mandoverse, and both J.J. Abrams and Dave Filoni have said, just because you hear her voice, it doesn't mean she's necessarily dead. And with the way Ahsoka's first season ended, with Ahsoka and Sabine stranded in the second galaxy, a lot of theories have come up that maybe Ahsoka contacts Rey through the Force, but she isn't dead. Maybe through the world between worlds, maybe from a Force portal on Peridia, maybe contacting her from a different point in time, something like that. But then a few months ago we had the Rise of Skywalker comics, which physically depicted Ahsoka's ghost on Exegol, helping Rey at the end of the movie. And that seemed to solidify that actually, despite our theories, despite what Dave said, maybe by the time of Episode 9, Ahsoka is well and truly gone. And the way she's communicating through the Force is the same way the other Force voices do. And today, my friends, Lucasfilm has doubled down on this. The Star Wars Kids YouTube channel just posted an animated clip chronicling Rey's adventures, and near the end of the video she confronts Emperor Palpatine. It's mentioned that she draws from the power of 1,000 generations of Jedi for strength and encouragement. And as the line is spoken in the video, images of Luke, Leia, Yoda, Qui-Gon and Ahsoka appear before Rey. Now listen, this is a pretty baffling choice. Ahsoka's voice is consistent with the film, but couldn't they have chosen Anakin or someone else? One of the other voices? Because surely Lucasfilm is aware of the discourse of, is Ahsoka really dead? They could have chosen any other Jedi who feature in the film, but instead, they chose Ahsoka in her Rebels look. Maybe this is just an artistic choice, something we shouldn't read too deeply into, but this is now the second time Lucasfilm has done this. I'll be honest with you, I don't know if Dave Filoni has decided yet. There is still so much to explore with her regarding Peridia. Does she ever make it back? Is she going to become the literal daughter of Mortis? And I very much doubt Dave Filoni is going to choose to kill her off. So instead of a Force spirit, this might be a Force projection. And this could explain why she looks very different. In the same way that Luke looked very different in his Force projection versus what he looks like on Ahsoka. Ahsoka the White might be projecting a younger version of herself, and she would be much older during this time. So that could be one way to explain it. But like I said, I don't think Dave has decided yet. But with that said, my dear friends, that brings us to the end of today's Star Wars news update. Share your thoughts and feelings about Grogu, Ahsoka Season 2, and this new reveal from Lucasfilm in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and may the Force be with you, always.